the defilement of Dinah and the revenge. The revenge. Dinah. Dinah is a child of Leah. But how did all of this happen? Reuben, her brother, went into the field and found something called mandrake. Apparently, mandrake stimulate fertility in a woman. So Reuben found some mandrake and he brought it to Leah, his mother. Then Rachel said to Leah, well, I want some of that mandrake. Now, remember now that Leah and Rachel are in competition. Who is producing more children? And so Rachel is asking for the mandrake. Then Leah said to her, look, is it a small matter that you take away my husband? And now you have to go take away my son's mandrake also? And here's Rachel's idea. Rachel is saying, listen, therefore, he shall lie with you tonight for your son's mandrake. So Rachel is saying, I will let Jacob stay with you tonight, but just give me some of the mandrake. And of course, Leah is up for that. So when Jacob is coming home, she went out to meet him. And she said, hey, bro, you have to come stay with me tonight because I have hired you. I have paid for you with my son's mandrake. And of course, Jacob had no choice in the matter. Can you imagine the same Jacob that we've been talking about all this time coming up? You notice Jacob is still quiet, still just doing it, still just going along. All right. So, of course, Leah got pregnant, right? And that time she had a son, a fifth son. And of course, Leah is really happy that this also, she had another son. She called him Issachar. And she had another son. So she keep having children. And of course, apparently the mandrake is working. And Leah said, God had endued me with good dowry. This is one of the first time in the Bible we hear that a woman is making a payment for a husband. Usually it's the man who brings dowry to pay for the wife. Here it is, we have a girl who is now paying another girl for the husband. This is what I guess is how they do their thing, right? But then, and so she would have given produced seven boys, right? And of course we have Zebulun in the lot. And afterwards now she bear a daughter and she called her name Dinah. So that's how Dinah came in the picture. It's after the whole story with the mandrake and Leah would have had some more boys, and then Dinah came. So this is the person we're looking at tonight. And I might say here that Dinah, there's no story about Dinah except right here. There's some little folklore which you can't go with, from the Jewish Talmud. We don't go for those anyways. But let's look. Dinah's dilemma. There's a boy by the name of Shechem. Now, Dinah, the daughter of Leah, which she bare unto Jacob, went out to see the daughters of the land. So, she's in the land of Canaan, and somehow she's gone up to, to see them. The Bible doesn't tell us why. Didn't tell us why now? Why they saw the interest in going out to see the other girls in the land. But nevertheless, she went out to see the people in the land. And when Shechem, the son of Hamor, the Hivite, the prince of the country, saw her, he took her and lay with her, and he defiled her. That's Shechem. And Shechem's soul, clave unto Dinah, the daughter of Jacob, and he loved the damsel and spake kindly unto her. Now, I put the asterisk right there before I'm being, Anyways, let's develop the conversation. And Shechem spake unto his father, who is Amor, saying, get me this damsel to wife. Again, I use the asterisk because this boy seemed to be a boss who bosses everybody around. He forced Dinah. He now tell his father to go get this girl for me. Now the father is done of the country. And he's saying, you need to get her for me. So Jacob heard what would have happened to Dinah. But his sons didn't hear us yet. And the peaceful Jacob, who don't trick people, the peaceful Jacob held his peace, waiting for the sons to come back home. And Hamor, the father of Shechem, went out unto Jacob to commune with Jacob. And the sons of Jacob came out of the field, and it seemed to be after they heard. We came remember, so when they heard, so it would appear as if after they heard what happened, then they came out. Right? And the men were grieved, and they were very angry because he had wrought folly, that is, Shechem had wrought folly in Israel in line with Jacob's daughter, which thing ought not to be done. So when the Bible talk about the men were grieved, it could have been the men of the land, because they're saying that this thing ought not to be done. Seem to be, it's not part of their culture for men to force women into these kind of relationships, right? So the men were displeased about Shechem's behavior. And Hamor communed with them, saying, the soul of my son Shechem longeth for your daughter, I pray. Give her to him to wife. You realize that there's no remorse from Hamor nor Shechem. The son tell the father, I want this girl. Then the father went up to Jacob to say, look here, my son want this girl. The audacity, but let's continue. So I want you to give her to him, and make he marriages with us, and give your daughters unto us, and take our daughters unto you. Now, this is the people of God, and Shechem is now making the rules for the people of God. And so it appears to be like a kind of blackmail from Hamor. And he shall dwell with us, and the land shall be before you. Dwell and trade ye therein, and get you possessions therein. Hey. This is the land that God promised Jacob. And this is the land that the guy is saying that if you allow us to marry your girls and your girls marry our boys, and of course vice versa, then you can stay in the land. But let's go. And Shechem said unto her father and unto her brethren, let me find grace in your eyes. And what shall he say unto me? No matter what you want, just ask it, and I will give it. Now, this boy is not even apologizing. But here's what he's saying. Let me find grace in your eyes. How do you beg for grace and mercy without apology? No form of remorse. And then you're going to buy your way into say, ask of me anything, and I will give it. It doesn't matter what amount you want to ask me. I will give so much dowry. I'll give gifts. You just ask, and I will give it. But I want this girl. And I will give according as he shall say unto me. But at the end of anything, I want this girl to be my wife. This boy want to run the show. Apparently, he bosses people around, and would have done that to his father too. And the sons of Jacob answered. But their answer to Shechem and Hamor was one of deceit. But they did it because of the defilement of Dinah. No, they said unto them, we cannot do this thing to give our sister to one that is uncircumcised, for that were a reproach unto us. No, they cook up this thing quickly, which is still a Hebrew custom truth. But they're telling this truth with an ulterior motive. And so they're saying, we can't do it that kind of way. You need to be circumcised. But in this will we consent unto you, if you will be as we be, that every male of you be circumcised. Then we will give our daughters unto you, and we will take your daughters to us, and we will dwell with you, and we will become one people. But if you will not hearken unto us to be circumcised, then will we take our daughter, and we will be gone. So you realize that after Shechem forced himself on Dinah. Dinah never go back home. Dinah was still being kept by the boy and his father. Dinah was in their property, I mean, in their possession. So anyways, the deal sounds good to Hamor and Shechem. Sounds good. And the young man deferred not. In other words, waste no time because he had delight in Jacob's daughter. And Shechem was more honorable than all the house of his father. Now, this is a wake-up call. When I read this, and I recognize that the author is saying that Shechem was more honorable than all of the house of his father, and this is what he did. Can you imagine the others? And Hamor and Shechem and his sons came unto the gate of their city, and they had this community meeting with the men, saying to them, these men are peaceful. They want to dwell in the land, and they want to trade. We're going to trade the land. And the place is big enough for all of us. So here's what we're going to do. Let us take their daughters for our wives, and let us give them our daughters. This is a community meeting now, neighborhood watch meeting. Only herein will the men consent unto us for to dwell with us, to be one people, if every male among us be circumcised as they are circumcised. So now Hamor come to them and say, if you want to marry their children and their children to marry ours, circumcision have to go on by the men. And it came to pass on the third day, so they did the circumcision. So on the third day, when they were sore, that two of the sons of Jacob, Simeon, and the priestly tribe, Levi, Dinah's brethren, took each man his sword and came upon the city boldly. Now, of course, the man them swore so they can be bold. And they kill all the males because of their sister. They slew Hamor and they killed Shechem, and his son them dead with him. And they rescued Dinah out of Shechem's home, and they went back to their yard with her. Now, I know that some people might think of this kind of terrible deed, but your sister this. The guy not apologized yet, and they have your sister locked up in a place. The sons of Jacob came onto the slain and spoiled the city because they defiled their sister. So that's revenge they're taking. And so what they did, they went there to exterminate, wipe them out. By the way, the emphasis in my voice here, so it's not that I'm applauding the issue or not. I'm just telling you what happened. So after they killed the men, Shechem and Hamor, their sons and the men of the community, they took the sheep that they had. That's Hamor and the Hamor's community sheep. They took the sheep. They took the oxen. They took the asses. That was in the city and was in the field. They just take all of that. But not only did they do that, they took all their wealth. They took the children and they took away their wives. And they took them into captivity and spoiled even all that was in the house. They just didn't only exterminate the men. They took the city literally. Just take it, right? And then, of course, Jacob become fearful. Like you all know, right? I'm a cheerleader for Jacob. You notice Jacob is still a peaceful man. And Jacob said to Simeon and Levi, you have troubled me to make me stink among the inhabitants of the land, among the Canaanites and the Perizzites. And I've been few in number, just few who may have. They shall gather themselves together against me and slay me, and I shall be destroyed. I and me all I know. So Jacob is not even the one who called for the death of these people. The boys did it without him even knowing. Again, I'm rooting for the peaceful, loving Jacob. And they said, that Levi and Simeon said to Jacob, you think, sir, We don't make that boy in father treat our sister like she a harlot. The boy stood up for their sister. And they stood up against their father and said, look here, father, you won't do this, I will do this because this is our sister. She's not a harlot. This is the only thing we hear about Dinah, her calamity. And you search the Bible, you don't get anything more about Dinah, except that you could know that her brothers love her to death. They love her well, right? Let us just look. We saw that Dinah was not only forced into sexual act, but she was a captive to Hamor and Shechem. And while she's in captivity, they are gone over to now tell Jacob that we want to marry her. They have her over there. They already have her and they come tell Jacob no, so we want to marry her. In other words, give her to us when them already have her locked up. Shechem did not even apologize for what his son did. Shechem, none of remorse either. Jacob, wanted a peaceful resolution. But Simeon and Levi, they were on a rescue mission while Jacob wanted a peaceful resolution. The boys are gone out to get their sister. Simeon and Levi slaughtered only the men. Of course, that is to protect themselves because them, wipe out the men and they won't be attacked. But Jacob still wanted peace.